Good afternoon. Well, now that I got your attention with the title, I was gonna say "Women Are Dream Killers" as a title, but that's kind of unfair, actually, and not entirely true. But yeah. So as a man, don't let any female kill your dreams. Okay. Now let's be fair to women here. They're not minus a subset of the population who will use you up and spit you out. Okay, so that's your sociopathic narcissistic types, and there are men that are that way, females that are that way too. So take out that anomaly, take out that lower percentage of women that are going to use you up, spit you out, and not care about you, and take the majority. Okay, the majority aren't trying to kill your dreams. That's not their goal, but they have a different biological drive and imperative than you do. And in our feminized society, that biological imperative will be imposed on you, and you're going to be you're going to be tempted to bag all your goals and dreams, or you'll be told a lie that you can achieve your goals and dreams while fulfilling a bunch of other obligations that essentially drag you down from achieving what you want. So let me explain how this works here. So, okay, females, let's talk about sexual viability and market value. Okay, female biological imperatives to have kids, so women tend to have a biological clock. Even women who maybe can't have kids, the clock still exists. It's still there. So after a certain point, they start looking to want to settle down. They start looking to want security and wanting a bunch of things, and that's a biological drive to bear children. A female market value, too, sexual market value starts to go down between mid-20s to late 20s, or even if they're genetically lucky, early 30s. When I say biological sexual market value, what I mean is what society, what the general populace is going to value them as a viable mate. So males are attracted to females based on genetic markers of fertility, which is tits, ass, nice body, nice face. Right, it's all looks, right? I mean, our biological beings. We're very primitive and very cavemanish in our attraction. So it tends to be just a young-looking hot girl, okay? And as we age, the ability to stay young-looking and hot sort of goes down. It doesn't mean that a female is not valuable in her older age, but there's other things she needs to do to be valuable, including upkeeping herself as much as she can. So it's not just, she's like a hot girl who's in her early 20s who just shows up and then gets a whole bunch of unwarranted attention. So anyway, her biological imperative somewhere around her mid-20s becomes to snag a commitment and to create that security. Now, a man's sexual market value goes up as he ages for a while, like well into the 50s and 60s, because a man is, and this is true, this is why women date men who are older all the time, and you don't usually see that as much the other way around. So what you have is, because what makes a man attractive, we talked about this in another video, and again, this is the most rudimentary biological sense. What makes a man attractive is dominant characteristics, and which does include looks, but it's behavior also, okay, as well as resources. The ability to accumulate resource, the promise of resource, and the actual resources themselves. So a man who's 35, 40 years old arguably has a greater ability and has accumulated more resources in his life than a young kid who's 18, 19, 20, or in his early 20s, right? And then a man who's 35, 40 years old also has had life experience and knows how to exhibit dominant characteristics more so than somebody in their early 20s. And then you add to the mix a man who's between, in 35 and 40, to keep going with the same comparison, takes care of himself as well and takes care of his physical health and his physique. Well, now you have a man that has higher sexual market value, that 35, 40-year-old has higher sexual market value than that that young guy in his early 20s. Whereas generally speaking, for females, it doesn't work the other way around, does it? All right. So we look at these biological imperatives. That's why a female is biologically wired for the reason of producing children, and because of the sexual market value aspect of it, there's that biological wiring to nail you down into a commitment early and start shouldering you as a man with obligations. And then our feminized society says that you have to take on all of these unwarranted obligations before you're ready, or else you're a bad person, you see. So for you to want to take time to build your career, to build your wealth with low overhead and low levels of responsibility, so you can put all your energy into what's your future long-term security for you and your mate, you're being told that makes you a bad person, that you're supposed to, put a ring on it and take the leap and do all this stuff before maybe you're biologically, or you're not just biologically, but before you're ready for it logistically. So you have these things you want to accomplish, these dreams, these things you want to do, and then you have a female that you care about who's wanting to push you into more and more responsibilities that will take away from those dreams. So don't let a woman be a dream killer, okay? And it's for her own good as well as your own good, okay? As a strong male, and this is mostly advice for younger guys, but I mean, you can apply it at any age, especially men who've been around the block and through the divorce and who are starting their lives over in their late 30s, early 40s, okay? It's not a negative thing against women. It's just, again, this is biological imperative stuff. And there's good reasons that women are driven to do that stuff, to want that security. But there's a good reason why you're going to provide it, and you're going to provide leadership. All right? So what you need to do, first of all, is make sure you're picking and choosing a patient woman who is supportive of your goals. That you discuss these things openly, you have a plan, and you're working towards your goals. Because if you're going to be in a long-term monogamous relationship with them, if that's where it grows, then they need to be supportive of that. That's their future as well as your future. So if they're trying to, if they're being whiny and unhappy and depressed because they want this thing that you're just not going, they think they're going to manipulate you into a bunch of obligations that aren't suited or fitting with your long-term plan, then they think they're going to do that. So they give you lip service, they say they're supportive, but then in the meantime, they're trying to shoulder you with unwarranted responsibilities before you guys are ready for that. If that is what's happening, don't allow it to happen, right? I mean, you need to choose somebody who isn't going to do that, first of all. So selection is your first thing that you need to be careful of, is selecting a woman who's going to legitimately be supportive of what you're doing and allow you to support her as you grow into what your goals are, and you start achieving those goals, and you start, she starts to benefit reap the rewards of being patient and being supportive. So that's first thing is selection. But then the second thing is just either way, provide that leadership, provide that assurance, and don't waver. You're the man, okay? You're the alpha male in the relationship. At least you're supposed to be acting that way. And that means you don't get pushed around and you don't compromise what your goals are. You're attentive to other people's needs, but that doesn't mean that you sacrifice yourself and you sacrifice your greater purpose for the wills and whims of a woman or any other person, for that matter. You just don't do that. Don't allow yourself to do that. If that means that you young guys, if that means that you're not getting married until your late 20s or early 30s even, or later than that, fine. You know what I'm saying? That's just the way it goes. You need to secure your dreams, your career, and the things that you want to secure. And you need to have plenty of a safety net built before you, and a financial safety net, and you need to have plenty of momentum before you start taking on additional responsibilities. And so if you guys tune into and it's got to get downloaded to YouTube yet, but it's on the Facebook Live still. If you tuned into my hour and 35-minute long discussion about stages of a relationship, what I proposed was the logistical commitment happening much later, you know. So during the vetting phase, you go from dating into a sexual and emotional commitment, and then you find stability with this person, meaning you've committed emotionally and sexually and logically, mentally and spiritually, if you want to even look at it that way. You've committed to being with this person for the rest of their lives. But the logistical commitment comes later. It comes when you're ready for it financially and logistically. And so, you know, you want to do that as quickly as you can. You don't want to dither around as a male. So it's not about avoiding a commitment. It's about having the commitment, but it's about planning out your lifestyle and your financial, and is planning out your future and financial security so you can take care of that person. And what I see guys too often do is they allow, to make her happy, they allow themselves to get pushed around into doing shit that they shouldn't do, and to allowing themselves to get into debt they shouldn't get into debt with, allow themselves to have kids too early, to maybe move in together too early, to maybe get married too early. All this stuff, don't fucking do it, okay? Now your marker, again, isn't just because you fear commitment and you're a pussy. Your marker should be an actual plan that you as a man are setting out, and you're discussing with your other half, and you're developing a plan, and you're executing that plan. That's your marker. Not for the logistical commitment that requires this part right here. All right, that's not feelings. All right, so feelings are not logical. Feelings don't plan your financial security for the future. All right, so you can be committed and bonded to that person emotionally, that's fine. But up here, this is what's required to secure your dreams, your goals into the future. And so don't let her emotional state sacrifice that stuff, okay? And compromise that stuff and put you in a bad place where you find yourself, like actually most men, you end up finding yourself in your late 30s to early 40s and 50s even, having not accomplished even a fraction of the shit that you set out to accomplish, and not being happy because you said yes to everybody else except for yourself, okay? And for your purpose. Not even about you. It's not about being selfish. It's about saying yes to your purpose, all right? Because that's your higher purpose, what you're here on this earth to do. You got to say yes to that before you say yes to anybody else, and that includes your wife, your girlfriend, your brother, sister, mother, friends, right? Any of that stuff. So don't compromise in what you're trying to do. And that's all the point of this video is. It's not to slam on the ladies, I promise. In fact, you ladies can, if you're understanding of that and you're supportive of your man, God bless you. Okay? So, take care. Have a great afternoon.